Well, very good morning, all of you, wherever you are in any part of the world. I have decided to speak about what human nature is, what science is, and how human nature and its negatives damages our prospects of living in a decent way, and how science has the responsibility to correct or regulate human nature so that human behavior is patterned and it is given a kind of push towards uh, better interactions between human beings. My idea is to explore the possibility of a better world through the efforts of science and technology to get rid of some of the most negative traits of humanity, particularly rage, anger, jealousy, envy, and all sorts of criminal tendencies that arise in human mind. It has been said quite often that science is a boon, and of course it is. Science has done a lot to ease human life. Science and technology together has done so much to make the environment convenient for the living and survival of different kinds of creatures. There's no doubt about that. Scientists all around the world have always contributed through their labor of great intensity and sincerity uh, to ameliorate the conditions of life on the earth. Scientists have done a lot to increase the pace of life, the stalled life of the ancient time, or very slow life of human beings until the 18th century has been speeded up because of the inventions and discoveries of so many things that we are getting used to, or we have already got used to using them. Science has to see to it that discoveries and inventions are continued, but at the same time, the misuse or abuse of the discoveries and inventions of science, these are stopped. Human beings become arrogant, human beings become uh, drunk in power, human beings start misbehaving with their fellow beings because they have lots of resources at their disposal. They uh, they collect things in unfair ways. Some of the so-called people's representatives, some of the so-called powerful people in bureaucracy, and all sorts of people in different fields who are cunning and dishonest and scoundrelous. These people, they exploit the lives of the poor and the law-abiding citizens. So any person having some foresight, having some sense of equality, or having some sense of making this world a better place for everybody, almost everybody. It is a matter of great concern that so many bad things happen around the world. You can have any number of examples of how things are going in bad directions, in wrong directions. See the Russia Kremlin Ukraine war. You see tensions everywhere. You see terrorism. You see religious fundamentalism, and nothing is happening. You travel by trains or by planes, and you have so many hazards to go through. You are frisked at the airports, at the stations, and most of the time is wasted. Your idea of traveling peacefully, your idea of traveling in enthusiasm with expectations means of pleasure and delight and comfort. These things are killed right at the beginning when everybody is suspected. The real suspects, the real criminals, those in disguise, those who can make so many excuses, or those who can invent alibis, they pass through, they get through. And the gentle ones, the good ones who don't even think of doing anything crooked, these people are put into problem. Hence, I have been concerned about this state of affairs in our world. We have to have a free atmosphere. We have to have fair administration. We have to have honest leadership around the world, so that life is better, and it is not taken as a curse or as a burden, and people commit suicide. So around the world, about 20% people who commit suicide, and they are the people who are in frustration, and because of things not going the right way, things not running humanly, corrupt administrators, corrupt rulers, and people hands in glove with them, or people having a nexus of with very bad intentions. These people, they actually obstruct the progress of the world in the right direction. I therefore would like to shed light on how things are getting bad, and how scientists have a kind of double responsibility, that they should invent and discover, but at the same time, they should also have uh, inventions and discoveries that prevent the misuse and abuse of the discoveries, inventions that are meant to increase the welfare measures, or that are meant to make the conditions of life better. Take the example of weapons and all that. So it is the scientists who help in the manufacture of weapons of deadly nature, the bombs, the fighter planes, all kinds of weapons that are used in the war, and that are also used in conflict areas. These weapons should not be allowed to get into the access areas. These weapons have to be restricted only for the purposes of self-defense, and only for the purposes of uh, right kind of use when things go out of control. But we see that teenagers in America, everywhere, they get access to guns and other weapons. They, at their whims, they abuse them. They kill themselves and they kill others, uh, which is extremely, uh, extremely bad. And anybody can be concerned about these happenings around the world. So my point is that scientists should research into the areas that can lead them to the efforts correcting human nature. Human beings become angry, they start fighting on the roads, they have so much of jealousy. So these things will remain. But if they get regulated and controlled, the conditions definitely would be better. People should not be so angry as to start killing one another. For that, they should make medicines, or they should have certain devices. They should have psychological equipments to test how these things happen. How does a person become angry and uncontrollably angry? How does a person become spiteful, envious, and jealous of others? People should also have access to scientific gadgets that can take care of their health, and that can take care of their dirty thinking. Because once a person gets into negative thinking, he gets trapped into that, and then he starts going the wrong way, committing crimes, spoiling their lives, the lives of their family members, and the lives of people at large. Uh, I therefore feel that scientists all around the world, they should not only uh, help in the manufacture of weapons, or you can say trains that can run at the speed, very high speed, 400 kilometers per hour. You have supersonic planes and all that. Not only fastness, not only the speed of life, but humanity has to be helped in terms of humanity's safety, humanity's welfare, humanity's balanced pace of progress, so that the people who are poor, they become rich, or they become, you can say, economically sound. Scientists in different sectors, they should come together. They should not remain segregated. They should not shift the responsibilities on one another. Rather, they should go for integrated sort of work, instead of having all kinds of electronic gadgets, mobiles, and all that. We should see to it that how our farmers, they grow better, more nutritious food grains. Our people, they grow more fruits and more vegetables, things that are very essential for good health and good living. These things have to be uh, given consideration in terms of their more production, in terms of their more availability, in terms of their proper supply, and scarcities that are created because of the nexus between the traders and the industrialists and the manufacturers. And these nexuses have to be have to be have to be corrected, have to be broken. Only then people can have a better life. Everywhere you have tension, and people in competition, in rivalry, in politics. You see, nobody talks about sensible behavior, sensible acting. Everybody thinks in terms of power and pelf. Everybody goes for the quick gain, without thinking that the gains could be had quickly, but these gains are not in the advantage of humanity as a whole. These gains are short-lived. They make you feel excited about having so much in such a short time, but later on you repent because these resources unfairly earned, they rob you of your honesty, and you become dishonest, you become greedy, you don't have sleep, proper sleep, you don't have good interest in good things of life, like reading, like getting into sports, like playing, like walking, like writing, reading. You get into a kind of rut only to make money, and make money anyhow, even at the cost of your own health, and even at the cost of the lives of others. Business people in rivalry, politicians in rivalry, even engineers and doctors in rivalry, they take steps which are extremely bad, and they kill one another, or they harm one another. So, as a humanist, I feel that good people, whose number is very small, maybe 10 to 15%, these good people should make a campaign that the number of good people, the number of right thinking people, the number of far sighted people, that number increases. And those who are bent on destroying the world, those who are bent on poisoning the atmosphere in one way or the other, these people are kept in check. They are not allowed to rule the roost, as W.B. Yeats had expressed in one of his poems, as to how the worst people are at the center. They are the rulers. They have everything under their control. And the best people who are disunited, or whose number is very small, they are cornered, and they have been silenced. And this situation has to be reversed. The people who are bad, the bad elements have to be cornered. They have to be brought to senses. And the good people, they should be given incentives. They should be honored for their contribution to the going of the world in a better way, in a better condition. Scientists should not invent or discover anything that is going to be dangerous for human survival or human development in the right sense of the term. They should have checks and balances. They should invent and discover And they should see to it that their discoveries, inventions continue, but they are never abused, they are never misused. Uh, Particularly, I am thinking in terms of human nature getting regulated, as we have medicines and that have been had, that have been made to control diseases, and we know that newer and newer diseases, so many diseases happen because we destroy our ecology, because we destroy our forests, because we don't live nature's ways, we live artificially, and that's why even the COVID that has killed millions of people around the world, and even before that, plague and all that. So it said that the new diseases, for example, AIDS and cancer, all these diseases are caused because of human misbehavior, uh, because of wrong decisions that human beings take. They go against nature and they try to pamper their senses. They don't want to give support to the elevation of the soul forces, the right forces. We people become short-sighted in order to have sensual pleasures or bodily pleasures. They go mortgaging the cause of the conscience, and that is so very bad. So, if man has been made after the goodness of God, it is said, as William Blake also once said, that human beings have been made after God Himself or after the makers themselves. So, if we have the goodness of our makers, we should retain that goodness. We should not go satanic. We should not give priority or allowance to those who are very cunning, very clever, and they do damage to the human fabric, because ultimately that is not going to help anybody. Even those people who consider themselves to be powerful and rich, and in all conditions they are, you can say, they suppose that they are safe, they can't be punished, they can't be brought to justice, they can't be booked for their wrongdoings. And these people also should realize that wrongdoing is never paying. It only robs us of our humanity, and wrongdoings always put our future into darkness. And therefore, it is essential that all the scientists of the world, they make medicines or they devise psychological, you can say, measures, so that we don't think badly, we don't go greedy. Greed is there, but it should remain controlled. We have negatives because we are human beings. We have not been perfectly made. Our makers only made weak, that we get tempted, that we become over angry, that we become spiteful of the progresses of others, and then we do so many bad things. So scientists have double responsibility. They should make, but they should make only for the good uses. They should invent and discover, but they should see to it that their discoveries, inventions are not put to bad uses. And if anybody tries to put them to bad uses, that person or those persons automatically get shocked, and they fail to do that. As we say, automatic, we have iron, electric iron, that it takes the heat as much as it is needed for the person to press the clothes. So, automatic system has to be developed, that the moment a person exceeds the limit of anger or exceeds the limit of jealousy or envy, that person is checked. It sounds very mechanical, it sounds very utopian, but then something has to be done. If not all that, I think about scientists of the world, researchers of the world, technocrats of the world, technologists of the world have to think positively, so that this world lives long, and the people and the creatures living in this world, they also live nicely, and they also live with satisfaction, and they don't have all the time tensions in their minds, all the times conflicts, burns, strikes, and wars, and all that. Because what sort of life this is when you can't be assured of your tomorrow. You are going somewhere, but you are not safe because criminals can attack you and you get killed. Or you come into a problem that you don't find a way out of that. And therefore, it is imperative on the part of the scientists and all the conscientious and right thinking people to pool their resources. Even common people, they have to realize that cheating and getting cheated, putting others into problems and getting into problems themselves, it's a vicious circle. It doesn't pay anybody. Let us behave and let us live as nature wants us to live. Let us save our forests, our jungles. Let us save our ecology, our environment, and let us behave as human beings. Only in that case, there is a possibility of our world surviving for a long, long time, and human beings coming and human beings even dying. Even death will be easier. Even death will be more satisfactory. Death is inevitable. Deaths and birth can't be controlled, but controlled to some extent that our earth doesn't get overcrowded and our life quality doesn't slip into that sort of darkness or bad level. So, what I wanted to speak about is how can our scientists come together and take up the challenges that the world is facing, and how they can help humanity to get rid of the negatives, the negative passions, the negative thinking. If not completely eliminated, scientists have to do something to control and regulate so that this world is a bit better than what it has been or what it is presently. And that is for everybody's interest, that is for everybody's good realization, that is for everybody's future to be good, to be satisfactory. So this much, thanks a lot if you have heard, or if you happen to hear later. I thank you for being the prospective listeners, and God bless us all. Bye bye.